But I got to the point of, it's your past. You can't fucking change it. Right? Like, you have to learn from it. You have to grow from it, which I did. And there's other people out there that are experiencing that same bullshit feelings that you went through. And maybe you can help somebody. Maybe your story can help somebody else see themselves in their actions and what they're doing, and get some clarity around why they're doing the things that they're doing.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Welcome back, Badass Manifestors. I'm so excited because we have a guest, and this is a guest that you have probably met before on the show, and it's not very often that I bring guests back, and I'm so excited to have Theresa back on the show. We have Theresa Tirk. She is here today. She is a certified life coach, aromatherapist, speaker, and author, which I'm so excited to talk about. She is always empowering women to step out of overwhelm and into joy by awakening to their own validation and strength with dynamic daily rituals and simple yet powerful mindset shifts. And so if you remember the episode with the ritual queen, she's back, baby, and better than ever. Welcome back.
Thank you, my love. I'm so excited to be back. Yeah, doing awesome. So good.
I'm so happy that you're back, and we're going to jam out. Our last episode was so good, and you shared so much of your story. And since then, share what you have created.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, our last episode was magical because anytime we connect, it's magic. But yeah, so I have been pretty busy since November. I decided that I was finally going to do the damn thing, and I was going to write my book.
Yes. She didn't just write one book.
So one book turned into three, but
you know how that happens.
It
just happens.
Yeah, things just kind of rolled, and we ended up with three books, but they all kind of go together. So it's not like I wrote three completely separate crazy things, but just one major crazy thing, which is my life.
Yes.
And so it's basically like a self-help memoir. I'm talking about everything that I've gone through in my life, and I wanted it to be a platform for me to share. It was a healing journey for myself, but it also serves as a guide for others. So when you read it, it was really important for me that you're not only just, like reading about, I didn't want to just spew my life onto pages and have you read it. I wanted it to be something more than that. So there's a lot of tools in there for you to, if you recognize anything, anything that I'm talking about, anything that I went through, there's tools in there for you to begin your own healing journey. So that was a really important aspect that I wanted included.
I love that. And you didn't say the name, but the name of the book is called Uncensored, and it is the guide to putting on your big girl panties. I mean, how freaking cute is that?
Isn't that fun?
It's fun. It's really, really fun. And then she has a journal that goes with it that really helps you like do the inner work, which is such a big part of it, because I love what you said about like, you didn't just want to put your life, you wanted it to be, it's your life, it's your lessons, and it's meant for the reader to actually like go through and get their own lessons. So it's really powerful. And then the third piece of it is a beautiful coloring book, okay? This is the coolest coloring book I've literally ever seen. My favorite page is the one that says fuck off. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so, so
The-
cool.
Yeah, the coloring book was so much fun to put together, and I had I had an amazing illustrator that I worked with that took
Yeah.
all of my ideas and put them, into fruition, which was amazing. But it was really important to me. So if you know me, you know that, I've suffered from some major depression, and one of the tools that I used when I was healing was somebody had bought me a coloring book, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Like,
Hmm.
I look like I want to draw a color a basket of flowers right now. So, like I feel like shit. I don't want to color that. So it was really important to me to make it a progressive coloring book. And what I mean by that is it goes from dark to light. So when you're feeling, like shit and you don't want to color a happy go lucky rainbow, well, there's some, sadness in there, some darkness that you can color and connect to and use it kind of as a therapeutic tool. And then it progresses into, more lighter images. So that was really
Really
important.
love that. I absolutely love that. I love that it goes from dark to light. I actually didn't realize that. And it's so interesting because it's true. Like when we are coloring, we're not thinking.
Right. It's completely mind numbing activity that gets you out of your own head.
It puts you in the moment of just
Yeah.
like what's happening in your on the paper. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have this coloring book. Like you are the virtual queen. Something that stood out to me when I was reading is the title of Divine Dysfunction.
Mm,
And I was like, wow, that is, I've never heard that before. It really, really resonated with me. And I was like, whoa, this is like deep. And I would love for you to elaborate a little bit more on what that means, divine dysfunction.
yeah. So divine dysfunction to me was, I grew up in, well, I was born into a world of a 16-year-old that was married to, somebody who was, to my best knowledge, what I've heard, was an abusive man. She lived states and states away on an army base, with this man, and she was 16, right? Like, as crazy as that is. But to me, the divine part of it comes because I was born at 5:55 a.m. So
Mm,
that number has always been very special to me. I've always taken that as my sign from God that, I was put here for more. There's a bit of divinity in my life, and I've always tried to connect to that and carry it through. I mean, I've lost it, right? We all lose our connection to things over years, but so I really wanted to tie that back in because, of course, through my journey I reconnected to my spirituality, and it all became really, important to me and a big part of my belief and values. So the divine dysfunction is, well, of course, without that dysfunction I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I recently read a quote that said something about, like, you can't appreciate where you're at if you don't look back at where you came from.
mm,
And it's true. Like, you can't ignore the past because that's what shaped you into who you are today. So for a big part of my life, I was ashamed and embarrassed about, my childhood and how I grew up. And now I just embrace it as the fact that it's what has shaped me into the person that I am today. And it's what allows me to help other people that are still in that space of struggle, that have gone through dysfunction. And everybody, like, I joke about the 5:55 and being divine and all of that, but everybody can find some divine aspect of their life. It's just, you just got to look for it and embrace it.
yes, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so true. Like, I think that it's so relatable as far as we all have dysfunction. We all come from some sort of dysfunction. Of course, some are, quote unquote, worse than others. But I actually don't like that's what some people might say, but I actually don't believe that because it's like pain is pain,
It
you
is.
know?
Yeah, I don't like the that comparison game, like
Yeah.
in any
Oh,
aspect
I
of your
went
life.
through more
Like
than you. Yeah, who cares?
exactly. Right. Yeah. Like I had it worse than you, or I have it better than you, or, you can't have a bad day today because there's always somebody out there that is worse off than you. And yeah,
Totally.
that's a bunch of bullshit. Like just
Yeah.
you have the right to sit in your pain, in your trauma, regardless of what anybody else thinks that the level of it should be.
I find that a lot of coaches or authors, speakers, they can share their stories because they're not living in the dysfunction of what was, but they actually do see how it is so divine. It is so on purpose. Like everything that ever happened has led you to where you are, like the quote that you said. And I know some listening right now probably don't see that,
Yeah.
right? Like they don't, the dots are not connected, which is the beauty of like having a therapist and having a coach and like doing the inner work, which is like part of, the book with the journal is being able to like connect those dots for yourself too. So yeah, I just think it's a really interesting concept, divine dysfunction.
Yeah, 100%. Like writing a book is something that I have wanted to do for probably the last 20 years. And
Mm.
actually, when my kids were really little, my son was a hockey player, and I actually wrote a children's book probably like 20 years ago. He was probably like 5 or 6 when I wrote it. And but the world was different back then, where you couldn't just throw your shit onto Amazon and hit publish. Like you actually had to go through a publisher and stuff, and it was too overwhelming at the time because my babies were little and stuff. So I never moved forward or, chased that chase that dream. So but writing a book is always something that I've wanted to do. But I don't think that even 10 years ago, I would have been able to do it. Like
Mm.
there was too much to overcome and too much healing. It would have never been uncensored.
It would have never been uncensored. Wow. And now you can publish your children's book. You should publish that.
Yeah, I might dig that out of the archives.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit more about that specifically, what you just shared. I think a lot of people have the desire to write a book. I
Mhm.
want to write a book. Like I think people have that dream, and for so many, it's a pipe dream. Like, yeah, maybe I will. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Everybody has a story in them.
Yes. So that's kind of what I'm curious about is how you were able to put your big girl panties on and like actually share your story. I think some people think, oh, it's too painful to write my story, or is it good enough, or is it boring, or who's gonna want to read this? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
can you
you
share
you go
about that
you go through that
process?
you go through that whole gauntlet of emotions the entire time you're writing, no matter how prepared you think you might be. Yeah, I'd love to share. And like I said, like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, like I would never have been able to step into it. Um, I had to do a lot of healing, a lot of healing. I really had to get a grip on my childhood. I had to work through so much forgiveness and forgiveness for my parents for not being what I thought they should be.
Yes.
Like they're my parents, they're what they are. They did what was within their capacity.
The best
It
they could with what they had, right?
Yes, it just wasn't what I felt I needed. So before I could share about my childhood and, what I went through there, I had to I had to come to terms with that, and I had to accept that, and I had to forgive that, and I had to move on. So I say it like it was so easy, right? Like
Piece of
trust me, it's
cake.
not right. Like it's not like I just woke up one day and was like, "All right, yeah, you're cool. I forgive you. It's all good." Like I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work with you. We did a lot of, NLP and timeline work, and it took a lot of time. And then there was a point where I was like, "Okay, I'm good." and then I start writing, and then I'm bawling, and I'm like, yeah, you're not good yet. Like you gotta do some more work. So, you might think that you've worked through something and you've healed, but then something can always trigger you and realize that you still have something underlying and that you need to work through. So writing the book was definitely a big healing journey for me, because just in that circumstance, like I thought I had really busted through a lot of my, beliefs, and things still came up. So
Mhm.
just be prepared for that. When you decide to write your story, because you can do it, we all can do it. And then there was also there's a lot of a people pleasing element into my book,
Yeah.
because that was really like,
That's the first line of the book, guys. It's the first, like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And immediately you're like, me too.
yeah, exactly. We all want to be recovering people pleasers, and admitting that you are a people pleaser is like step number one. And you may be like, "There's no way I'm a people pleaser," and then as you're reading, you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I am." So, being able to accept that the things that I was writing, some people are not gonna like it, right? Like there's gonna be things in there that some are gonna, whether it's somebody that knows me or somebody that doesn't know me,
Mhm.
they may not be happy with what I'm writing or what I'm saying. So I really had to be
That's a
okay with
great
that.
point. I'm so glad you said that because that was another thing that I wanted to bring up around our stories are our stories, but they also include other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I gave a talk a couple weeks ago in Kentucky, and it was about real estate and whatever, like my old life and parts of that. And I was watching the video back, and I want to post it, but I have this like fear that the people that I'm referring to are going to not like it.
Yeah. So, like all the main hitters in the book, like family members and stuff, like when I was writing, I reached out to everybody that I still speak to. I reached out to everybody that I still speak to and was like, I'm doing this. I'm writing a book. It's about my life. And, you know,
You're in it.
yeah. And I was like, do you want your name included? Do you want your not name, do you not want to be included? Like, I need to know your level of, being okay with this. And everybody that I reached out to was like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So I was having lunch with my aunt, who is, like my surrogate mom. And she was like, so your aunt is a little concerned about this book. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, she's kind of afraid of like you're gonna air like her dirty laundry. And I'm like, I said no. And she's like, it's okay. Like I put her mind at ease that this is just about you, and not about her specifically. And but yeah, so people were a little concerned about what I was gonna say, and
Yeah,
but it was me and it's my story, and it was just a matter of, you know, the little bit of their part in that I
sure.
needed them to like be okay with. And then it came to my kids and my husband.
Hmm.
And those were a little bit harder, because I do not hold back in this book
I know.
at all. Like I am completely and totally open and honest
It's so
and
vulnerable.
vulnerable. Like every ugly thing I've ever done is on paper. Like it's out there for the world to see. And a lot of it, my kids didn't know. They didn't know
Mm.
about me at all. So, I needed them to read it and I needed them to be okay with it. And then, for my husband, every single thing that was in the book, he did know. He already knew. Like there was nothing that I wrote was new. There were no secrets there. But when you know something or you were told something 25 years ago and you worked through it and you were okay with it, and then it comes back out in print for the world to see,
Yeah.
that can be a little bit of a hitter to you. So there was, it was working through with everybody being okay with me putting it out there for the world. And everybody had to work through it in their own way, and
Sure.
whatever it triggered in them. And, in the end, everybody loved it. Everybody was on board. Everybody was completely, everybody is 100% supportive and behind me. But yeah, I mean, it was my story, but like you said, there's other people in that story, and I needed everybody to be okay with the fact that I was writing it. You don't have to be okay
Yeah.
with the story because it's mine,
Right.
but I need you to be okay with the fact that I'm putting it out there and how it's going to affect you.
Hmm. I think that's a really beautiful way to go about it, is to have private conversations and just like check in and, just speak your truth in those moments with your people. Um, I'm wondering if at any point you like, how do you deal with vulnerability hangovers? Like, I know sometimes if I share a post that's super vulnerable, I'll like question it and doubt it and be like, oh my God, I should delete this, or like, wake up, or I'm thinking about it in the middle of the night and I'm just like, oh, like, I don't know if I should say that, or, and I'm just mulling it over and over and over. And I hate that feeling. I usually stay and like, put my butt cheeks on the fire and like stay in it and leave it. But has
Yeah.
that ever come up for you?
Oh my gosh, the entire time I was writing it, because there is so much in there that had been so private to me, like between me and like maybe two, three other people, like maybe, my husband and my aunt, or, what I mean? Like there's very few people, and even a lot of it that was in the book, she didn't know. So, there's very few people that knew every aspect of what I wrote about. And that is scary as right? Like to put yourself so
Yeah.
completely out there, and then, like one of the concerns and one of the things that my husband had was, like, are you prepared for what people might say, like in
Mhm.
comments and in reviews? And I was like, I am, because, like I had to work through that, right? Like I'm putting out this story about my crazy ass year at college and all of the shit that I did that like I would never want my teenage daughter to do, but I did it. It was my life. Like it's what I did. And I did it. There were reasons behind why I did the things that I did. And as I'm writing them and I'm crying and I'm doubting and I'm erasing and then I'm rewriting and I probably wrote like that chapter like 20 times. But I got to the point of, it's your past. You can't fucking change it, right? Like you have to learn from it. You have to grow from it, which I did. And there's other people out there that are experiencing that same bullshit feelings that you went through. And maybe you can help somebody. Maybe your story can help somebody else see themselves and their actions and what they're doing and get some clarity around why they're doing the things that they're doing, because you've already lived it, you've already worked through it, you've already healed through it, so you have that hindsight to be able to share with somebody else. So, and he wasn't concerned about it more from a standpoint of like he was going to be embarrassed about
Yeah.
discussing it. He's looking at it from the standpoint of my husband and him not wanting people to say mean things about his wife. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
he was worried about like my feelings and how that was going to affect me, because he knows I'm an emotional person, and I
Sure.
take things to heart. And so he was worried about that. And it's not that I wasn't worried about it, because I was completely, but I had already worked through that as I wrote it.
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion that um, my ability to potentially help other people with my stories is more important than my fear of somebody not liking my story.
Okay, you guys, rewind that, play it again and again and again. That is like the epitome of this whole episode.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, you have to get to that point. Whenever you feel that divine purpose of wanting to help other people, your fear needs to be less important than your need to be able to help others.
Mm, 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 mm. That resonates so, so deeply with me because I feel like that was where I got to when I was ready to really like put myself out there. You know, when I first started my business, like that was what I journaled about specifically, like everything you just said. It's so powerful. And it took me a long time to get to that point, you know? I'm sure. I mean, yeah.
I've been on this healing journey for years, and it started, the traditional route of medication and therapy because I was in severe depression and I needed that. But, then it transitioned, and I found you, and
I love you.
you rocked my world, and you were my first ever coach, and you made such an impact on my life and my ability to be able to step out and help others. And yeah, so
I'll never forget our first meeting.
I know
So yeah.
guys, she made me stand up in the middle of my office in like this power pose and like put my hands up in the air and like claim that I was like a badass, and it changed my fucking life. So
And now look at you. Look at you. Not to mention, are you an amazing author? You're an amazing coach, an incredible, incredible coach.
UCA baby.
Yay, baby. We're such a family here. Like, it's just, I'm so proud of you. And honestly, and I'm honored to be part of it. You guys, Teresa asked me to write the foreword of her book.
She did such an amazing job. I was so nervous to ask. Like, isn't that crazy? I was so nervous.
I'm sorry it took me. I'm like, I was such a perfectionist with it. And I'm like, okay, just let it flow. And it did.
And
It really did. I
yeah,
wrote it, once I got out of my head, I wrote it. It was very easy.
yeah,
Write
and
it
it was
out.
beautiful, and I was so grateful. But yeah, so and actually, we are such a family within QCA because one of the other QCA students was my editor and my coach throughout the whole book process, and that was Jess Nichols, and she was
Shout out, Jess.
shout out Jess. She was amazing and incredible. And yeah, the whole QCA family has been so supportive. Like they had to get their own shout out and the acknowledgments. Just,
Yes.
you're so awesome. But yeah, so we're doing it, we're writing it. And when we finally came up with the title, Jess and I are on a Zoom call and we're crying because we finally came up with the title and it was so good. And I was like, yeah, I need somebody to do the forward. And I'm like, I really want to ask Ashley. I'm like, I really want to ask Ash. I'm like, and I was so nervous. And finally I'm like, just do it. Just put on your big girl panties and ask her. And yeah, it was awesome.
So totally honored. Totally honored. I would love for you to come into the Badass it's not the Badass Manifestor. This is the Badass Manifestor podcast, the Big Coach Energy Facebook group, and do like a reading. Let's do a
Oh,
reading.
I'd love that so much. Yeah,
Wouldn't that be fun?
that'd be so fun. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone look out for that. Wow. Okay, so what is your biggest piece of wisdom that you can leave everyone with, like everything that you've shared so far, and for the people that want to share their story, what do you want to tell them?
Yeah. So so the best thing that I can tell you is you have to learn to love yourself before you're going to be able to step into anything bigger than that. Because if you don't have that love within, then you're going to always be looking for your strength and your validation of what you do outside of yourself.
Mm,
And when you want to take on something, that's so important to you, and it's important to you because you feel it like so deep in your heart and in your soul and in that gut, and you want to do it, but you're so afraid, like that's how you know the shit's important, right? Because you're just so afraid to take the step. Spend a little bit of time really learning to trust yourself, to love yourself, and to really, not need somebody else to say, "Atta girl," or "You can
mhm.
do it." Like, you really need to believe in yourself to be able to take that step. So it really is important to do that work, that inner work, and to really find that connection to yourself in order to take those big girl steps.
So powerful. Thank you for doing that work and birthing this beautiful book into the world. Everyone, go get yourself a copy. It's called Uncensored by Theresa Tirk. It is on Amazon. We will link it in the show notes. But if you just type in Uncensored by Theresa Tirk, you're going to find it immediately.
Yeah.
Go read it. Be inspired. I mean, I'm reading your story and I'm like, oh my God, this is so inspiring to like just share. Like, it makes me want to write. It makes me want to journal. It makes me want to, you know what I mean? Like, it's really.
Thank you so much, because that's
really cool.
100% what I wanted. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's so good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Where can everyone go follow you?
I'm easy to find. I'm the Ritual Queen. So website, theritualqueen.com, Instagram @theritualqueen. Yeah, pretty easy.
Awesome. Amazing. Love you so much. So honored, so excited, so proud of you. Like, yeah, I'm kind of speechless sometimes when I think about it. It's fucking amazing. You're fucking awesome.
It is amazing. It is awesome. And I thank you for pushing me to do it. So you are fucking awesome. And I love you.
Love you so much. All right, everyone, go get the book. Go follow Theresa. And we would love to know what your favorite part was, what you feel most inspired about after listening. Please tag us and let us know. Bye. See you next time. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram @ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.